Hello.
Hi, everyone. Meribeth here.
TinaO. We are your story partners today. So glad that you're here. You haven't met Meribeth yet. Do you want to say hi?
Hi, how are you?
Meribeth, you probably watched the video introducing Meribeth, I guess, a couple of weeks ago. I think it was.
So many videos, Tina. How can I keep track?
Right. And what I find so loving and wonderful about working with you is that the online space is where you excel in written form and where I excel really kind of in the video form. So we work really, really well together and we have a lot of fun.
It took Tina a while to drag me into this physical space.
Right, with a camera and a microphone. So we're so glad you're here today. I'm not sure if you've downloaded the Communication Arrow workbook, but we're going to be going through this today. And one thing that we like to do first, because of course, if you know the Communication Arrow, if you tuned in a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the story, right? Same story, right story, and all of that, is that part of the who, so going back to the Communication Arrow, part of the who of who Meribeth and I are as partners is we actually do our best work when we riff a little. In fact, a lot of our teaching comes through riffing ideas back and forth. So we thought we would introduce you to us that way. And then I promise you, we will also deliver point by point the pieces in here. So we're going to open with a little riff. What do you think?
Okay, sure. What are we riffing on, Tina?
Oh, hold on. Let me just move this. I feel like we're not centered properly. Yeah. There we go. Okay. So since our topic today is writing online and moving your message into the online space, and Meribeth is a journalist and I am a writer, not in the journalist perspective vein, I would say more artistic writing, then I thought we would open on the things that we love about articles in the online space.
Well, I guess it depends on what kind of mood you're in, right? How much time you've got, whether you've had your morning coffee yet.
Right. Sure.
Sometimes you're looking for different things.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes you need that hit of TinaO emotion.
Right.
And there are all kinds of writers that deliver that in different ways.
So sidebar just for a sec. Remember how last time we talked about same story? You see how Meribeth just described me? She said a little bit of that TinaO emotion. So that connects to my same story. So I want you to think about you when you're writing. What is the same story that your audience, hey, GV, beauty, nice to see you. What is the same story that your audience is going to say about you? Okay, back to you.
Maybe you just had a horrible blowout with your kid.
Right.
And you need that how-to thing. Like,
right.
Hold up. Everything's going to be okay.
Right. I need a 10-step.
Yeah.
I need a 10-step how-to.
Exactly.
True. And then sometimes, like whenever Meribeth sends me articles, they're always articles. So first off, one of the things you need to know about the way Meribeth thinks and writes, I would call it in her core story, is that she's a but writer, which means I think this, but this is also true.
But I'm not so sure about this.
Yeah.
Or I'm wondering about this.
Yeah. So she brings in layers, right? And so as a journalist, when Meribeth is writing and when she's reading other pieces of work, I know that one of the things you look for, because of what she sends me, these are articles that are rich and they invite complexity. In fact, any article Meribeth sends me is an article that at the end of it, I'm not actually sure what I think, which is a whole other voice in the online space, right? Sometimes you need to read that thing like, who am I in the universe?
Well, and what I think is really valuable about that is that opens up this space for conversation, for ideas, for things to bubble up that you can't really predict.
Right. And in the online space, it's all about conversation.
That's
right?
what I mean, right? It's like if you post this article that creates questions, then you're going to get really interesting replies.
Right.
Hopefully.
And what's cool about what I call her MB, what MB is saying is also in here, when we get to it, that the end of a really great article or blog post or social media post, it ends with a call to action. And one of the calls to action that you can use is a question, is a thought-provoking question like Meribeth just talked about. So there, I just like put you on the hot seat. What do you want to put me on the hot seat about?
Ooh, I didn't know that I was going to have to do this.
We're riffing. What would
All
you ask
right.
me? Okay.
Here's my thing, Tina.
Okay.
You do a lot of posting on social media, and you do that in a way that's often very personal, but it's also about promoting your work and your business.
Mm-hmm.
And are you ever afraid that personal stuff might discredit you in any way, shape, or form?
Isn't that a great question? I bet you think about that a lot, because there is that. Well, okay. So first off, yeah. In fact, there was a really great documentary, and I think it was on Netflix, and it was all about the advertising industry. And one of the things that really hit me, and I took it home in my writing online, from a marketing perspective and also from a core story perspective, is that when you feel that kick in your stomach, like, I don't know, is this going to be okay? That is when you know you're on the right track. Now, you still have to decide what you want to do with that, for sure. But that feeling is the feeling that you're on the right track. You're saying something that matters to you. Now, I really want to couch that a little bit. It's not about mega fear, like, am I gonna, piss 6,000 people off? It's more like, ooh, is this okay? So when I get that feeling, I dig in, and then I ask myself, could I stand in the middle of Times Square and wear this all over my shirt? Because if I can't wear that message all over my shirt in the middle of Times Square, then I don't ever put it online. So this, for me, does come back to the core story piece, which is, who are you at the core? What is your bulletproof story, bulletproof message that you would kind of like, I'll take that to the mat, man. If I won't take that to the mat, I ain't posting it. And if I won't take it to the mat, but I'm curious about it, then that's the context that I frame that personal stuff in. So that's a really great question. And certainly in the online space, what I believe and what we bring to the table, and from the way that we teach writing, is that writing isn't precious, but it is personal. And so it's figuring out that line of what's personal and professional, especially because most of us are business women in this group, right? This isn't a creative writing conversation. This is writing online. This is business. Love it, love it. Time. So Jeevy, you're saying time.
What does that mean?
What does that mean, darling? Tell us what you mean. We only see that one word, so tell us more. So there you go.
Anyhow, I want to talk about that line too.
Okay.
It's not precious. What do we mean by that, Tina? I mean, we want it to be good.
Yes, we do.
We don't want to write something that's not accurate, that's filled with spelling mistakes.
Yep.
That's going to make us just look dumb and discredit us, right?
Yep.
So when we say it's not precious, what do you mean by that?
It means nobody's made of glass. It means if you're going to write something on the internet and stand in the middle of Times Square and say it, you can't be made of glass, and neither can your message.
You got to own it.
You got to own it. In fact, that makes me think of that other piece that's really important to us, is that writing to us, what we help writers do is write for an audience. Mm-hmm. It's implied that there's going to be an audience reading it. That in fact, that's what it's all about. So that's where the core story piece comes in, of owning the story inside you. And that's also where, to go back to Jake's point, of hitting the knowing who your audience is and making that connection. And then it goes back to Shar's point, going back to Shar's point of hitting your target.
So there we are now we're perfect segue into the communication arrow.
Ding, ding.
So we have 3 parts of that arrow, don't we, Tina?
We do. So if you've got this printed out, great. If you don't, KGB, thanks, ladies. Been contemplating writing about something since yesterday. Was trying to figure out how to post it. Awesome. It's stuff that gets my knickers in a knot. Yes. Times Square. Cool, cool, cool. Aw, sunshine. Brings back memories. I'm like, yeah, baby. That's exactly what that is. Way to go. Okay. So communication arrow. So if you've got this, I'm going to take on part 1 in this moment. So the first thing you need to know is anything you're writing online, be it an article, be it a blog, be it a post, it has to have an opening impact statement. And it's actually, the impact statement actually happens at the end, but this is like your invitation for impact. This is where you tie in your core, or what we called last time I was on here, your same story. And remember, the same story is it shows your audience who you are and why you're there and why they are there. Also, in this opening line or 2 lines, it's going to explain or invite us into the story, but you're not going to tell us what the story is because that takes 2 paragraphs. It's the one-liner that tells, and this is what it's about. And the story.
It's like opening a door.
We're
opening a door here. What door are we opening here?
Right.
The red, yellow, blue, or green one?
So she was reading my mind. I was just going to jump all over you and go, is it a blue door?
Yeah.
Is it a red door? Right? What color is the door? So it's the story. And then it's the impact piece. And this is where some people call this the hook. And I want to be really mindful of hooking, when you're writing, because one of the things that our audiences are tired of now, frankly, is being hooked. It's not so much that they're tired of being interested or hooked in that authentic way. It's like they're tired of being snagged by something that isn't real. They're tired of the feeling. Clickbait. They're tired of clickbait. Oh my gosh, speaking about clickbait, did you see that piece about who's that actor? Anyway, there's been a number of actors who was in North Vancouver recently on a bridge.
It's brutal.
Only to discover it was total crap, right? And that there were 10 different
They
movie
know
stars.
where you are and they're throwing things at you, thinking, I'm going to suck you in.
And see what she just said? I'm going to suck you in. That's the hook you will never use. Ever. If you want credibility in the online space that's sustainable long-term, you will never create that feeling.
But let's talk about what a good hook is.
All right. So a good hook tells us who you are, tells us a little bit about the story, and then the impact is it's like that internal theme.
But I think there's also something to this hook. I mean, from a journalistic perspective, I feel hooks are very important.
Sure.
It's find the story and see where it fits in the world. There's got to be a hook in the world where you can hook this up to. It's like saying, here's my interest.
Yeah.
What is it tied to?
Yeah.
Is this, is this a story about growing your business? We've all heard that 1 in 5 small businesses fail in the first 2 years.
Yes.
That could be the hook.
Right.
It could be a fact. It could be something solid. It could be something that is very relevant in the news today. Maybe are we writing to women and what they need to know and what is happening in the world right now that makes what you're saying particularly relevant.
And this goes back to Jake's point, right? Which is your audience.
Yeah.
So, and I love that visual that you just said is where is that hook hooking into? It's not about hooking, snagging. It's what is that hook actually hooking into?
Yeah. Where are you going to hang this coat?
Where are you going to hang this coat? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Love that. Okay. So the opening of anything online has that. It's like the or if you're in film language, it's the establishing shot. Where am I? How do I feel when I'm there? And what do I think is going to happen there? Then we move. So that's the beginning of the arrow, right? Now we move into social media writing audits. We're a social media auditing company. That's what we do. Tick, tick, tick. I love it. Okay, so now we're going to move into the middle part of a message, which is the carrier. And I'm going to turn over to Meribeth.
Well, first of all, there was a point I really wanted to make about this communication arrow right off the top.
Sure.
And it's why did we create this arrow? Why did we create this, Tina?
We actually created a couple, I think twofold or maybe threefold, but one of them for sure is we meet so many writers that don't know how to get out of the paper bag that they're in because they don't know where they are.
In short, people are putting all this work into their writing.
Yes.
We want it to make an impact. We want it to be worthwhile. Yes. So there you go.
Yes.
Let's make your work for that and your efforts worthwhile.
Yeah.
So we're talking about part 2, the middle of the arrow.
Middle of the arrow.
Now, we've opened the door. We know we've got a blue door here.
Yep.
And so now we're going to go on a journey. We're going to go somewhere. This is the middle of the arrow. And And I see this as all the details that prove your point, you know? If you want, if you're a young woman and you want to succeed in business, you need to be mindful of this, 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 and this, you know, and the stories that back those points up. These are the details that make your story relevant and meaningful.
Your compelling how, your profound what, your when and where. And then there's the other piece I just want to add to the blue door, just so that for the context piece, part of saying this is the blue door we're walking in is making sure that you're writing, like if you're writing for LinkedIn, you're walking into the LinkedIn door. Exactly. If you're writing for Facebook,
so that's your tone, that's your voice, that's the language you choose to use.
Yeah. I have a question for you. When you're in the middle part, so you're in the carrier part of the arrow, is there anything to how that writer expresses himself in the best way? So what I'm thinking about is I know that there are writers that like totally kick it on the 10 steps. And then there are those who speak better in storytelling and others who speak in sort of poetic metaphor type thing. Is there anything to that in the middle?
You know what? I think that's your voice. That's your skill. I mean, as you said, some people are better than others at other things. It's about having that place. But I also think as writers, we, you know, if we're taking this seriously, we need to be willing to grow and try different things. You know, have fun with it too, right?
And so I'm thinking as an editor of a newspaper that when people submit articles to you and you give feedback to them, it's often in that middle section, right? So what happens when you give feedback? Or do you have questions in your mind that you're like, oh, that person didn't answer that? Or
oh, for sure. You know, if you're opening a door and you're kind of opening up a can of worms, you want certain questions to be answered. So that's one thing. Or sometimes there's details in there and you're like, what does that have to do with anything? And maybe it actually does, but the person needs to do a better job of explaining how that detail is relevant, right?
Ooh, nice. So would it be right then too, Meribeth, that the middle part has to attach or hook into the opening line?
Of course.
And if you can't actually draw a string from the middle to the top, then it either doesn't belong or it has to be fleshed out. Okay. Very good. And it's kind of like let's be real, it's like English 11. Remember English 11? And it's like,
well, it's like the essay. You have your opening thesis statement followed by 3 paragraphs that prove your point, blah blah blah, conclusion. Right. You know, it all comes down to that. And I think the reason a lot of us hated this as kids is because it seems so boring. Right. But if you read essays, like really good essays written by really good writers, you'll see that structure is there. But it can be playful. It can be anything you want it to be. And those structures exist to help you. That's what I believe.
Oh, I love that it can be playful. It can be anything you want it to be. It can, especially in the online space, because it's conversational and there's so much about your identity in your style of writing and your specific audience that you're growing. It just has to follow that structure. Like you have to be able to tick off the box. Did I tell them how?
Well, and another great thing, and I think this really is relevant to this middle chunk, these details. If you're writing an article or something, or even just a blog post or a Facebook post, whatever, online, you probably want to have a photo with that. So, you know, you can either work from the photo and say, these are the details that are relevant, or you can think about your relevant details and try and think, what would that look like if I was looking at an image? Right. And how is this related to my invitation? Right. You know?
I like it. So we have an invitation, we have support, right? And now we go into the third part of an article. And the third part is your impact statement, and it's your call to action. So this is, so just play with me a little bit, because I think you'll really get it when we go here. It's looking at it from you know, when you watch a movie, you go to the movies, and it's like that last scene, and there's like those last 3 lines that that big Hollywood star says, right? It's like whatever those last 3 memorable lines are, that's how you close your article. You're out of frame.
I'm sorry.
I'm the show me a spotlight girl, and she's like, wait, whoa.
Oh, right in here.
Okay. So when you're crafting your impact statement, this is where it goes back to Shar's piece and Jake's piece.
Well, this impact statement, you said that's at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Char and Jake, but I'll step in after that.
Oh, okay. So this is where you're like, oh boy, this is what we're hanging our hat on. Okay, well now nobody's leaving without that hat.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is the hat, right?
I read this great little quote the other day by Mo Willems, who is a children's author with these cute little sketches, very funny books. But he said, every book is a question I don't know the answer to. Mm. So I feel like that is relevant in the impact statement. And
because the impact statement at the end is either an answer to the question.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Or is it a furthering of the question?
It could be. Depends on what you want it to be.
Right. Which comes back to the theme, but trust me, that's a whole other conversation. Yeah. Maybe we'll do theme in our next.
Yeah.
Because that's like we have this whole 7-layer dip thing, which is very fun. Okay, so what I'm hearing you say, so here's a good one for you as a journalist when you're looking at articles. Do you ever scan them and just go right to the last statement to see if there's relevance?
Oh, this is what I'm reading?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Oh. So what would
your beginning and your, read the beginning and the end and then figure out if you want to know what's in the middle.
Did you hear that? Read the beginning and read the end.
I think I read that in some kind of speed reading thing.
Oh, that's good. So as a writer, remember that. As you're writing in the online space, you got to know people are doing this. Scroll, right? And what do people scroll for? The opening line and the closing line. And so there's a couple of pieces here. One is the marketing piece, opening and closing, and recognizing that your reader is scrolling. The second piece is taking responsibility for the impact you want your story to make. So make sure you tie up that article with the call to action for your reader that hits the target, and as well furthers a conversation with them. Because in the online space, part of what you're doing, in fact, I'm going to be my marketing brain is going to be just straight about this. What you are doing is you are growing an audience. And the only way to grow an audience is to drop a pebble in the pond that can actually ripple out. If you drop something and it can't ripple, who cares? Who cares? Anything you want to add about the closing statement?
Again, it's got to tie back to the beginning.
Yeah.
That's key.
Yeah.
Some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And it can also, another way to end it, I struggle with endings myself, but a good way to do is like, what happens next? And that's,
nice.
Where should the reader, is there something the reader should follow up on? I mean, it's a bit of the call to action thing, but this is also this is your opportunity, right?
Nice. Like that.
This is your opportunity to get your readers to care about your message, to care about you, to care about what you're offering.
So let's just take 2 seconds to go back to that consistency piece that we talked about last time about your same story. This is an opportunity, what Meribeth said, an opportunity to get your readers to care beyond reading this one article. And when they can connect that last sentence, whatever it is, last couple sentences, to what you care about. This, remember we said where your why and their why intersect? That's where loyalty happens and magic happens. So you probably notice that Meribeth and I do a lot of sort of contextualizing speaking teaching, because we do that on purpose, because while we have a step-by-step system, the writing process is personal. And we want to encourage you as a writer to become a writer and to find the enjoyment in it and the creativity in it. And so while we do have step-by-steps, we're always going to take you into an open box that you get to fill in your way. So I'm just going to quickly dive into social media posts using this long form article method, right? Which is basically 3 things, right? Just to be really clear, there's 3 things in an article: an opening statement that tells us where we're going and what the tone is, how we're going to get there. And then the middle is all of the support stuff that says, yep, that's where we are. Here's how I know we're there. And in the end is the cut and dry, straight to the point impact statement and call to action. Okay, so when you're doing, I'm going to tell you, where do those articles go for example. So when you're writing an article, I want you to start looking at writing one, I would call it sort of parent article that you can then repurpose. So when you write one article, write it in Google Docs, write it, I don't care where you write it in Word, whatever, but it's like your one mega parent article. And then I want you to kind of like, I'm talking in artist language, I want you to sort of watercolor it to morph into a LinkedIn article. So then it's going to be shorter. It's going to have, two very clear how to change your business. Just 2 pieces, that's it. Or maybe even just one, nice and short because they scroll. And then I want you to also paint it again in artistic language, like in your heart language, and move it over to Medium. Medium.com is a beautiful blogging site where people like Bono's writes there, Gary Vee writes there,
emerging writers
write there. Like there's everyone. It's like the YouTube of writers, and you can really express all that you are there. It's a great place for people who connect on that core level to find you. And then I also want you to take that one major article that you have, and I want you to anchor every paragraph in that article with one line. These are your tweetables. Okay. And then it just what it does is you write, imagine if you wrote one article a month and repurposed it like 10 ways, because that's essentially what I'm telling you to do. Write one major article that you can break out into 4 mini Facebook posts on your page, because each paragraph has its own sort of thing, right? Now you're going to have at least 8 tweetables, right? Because you've got at least one per paragraph, and you'll be able to find a second one in there.
Yeah.
You're going to have a Medium post, and you're going to have a LinkedIn post. And the cool thing is now that you have a Medium post, guess what? Because you just washed that original article with another color, you have new sentences that you can move into Twitter.
You know what the beauty of this too
What?
is that when in the process of doing all this work,
yeah,
you're going to figure out what your next article is.
Ding, ding, ding. Because it's what every book is a question I don't know the answer to.
Well, you're going to be answering questions, and new ones are going to come along.
Yeah.
And you're going to be like, hey, wait a second.
So let's just talk Instagram now, just for a sec, even though we're not writing an Instagram, but we are writing an Instagram. Here's what it looks like. So now you're going to find images that answer who, what, when, where, why, and how, that answer everything we talked about in the article in a photo. So when you look at the photo, you go, who is this? Why is it here? When do I care? How does it change my life? Where does it impact? Who, what, when, where, why, and how? In a photograph, okay? So you're going to post the photograph, and then you're actually going to write a comment separate from the image, okay? And in that comment, oh, no, I digress. I'm getting this wrong. Come back with me a sec. You're going to post a photo, and then in the description of that photo is a little piece of writing. And in that little piece of writing, it's right to the heart of what that photo means to you. It's not a full article. It's, I was walking on the beach. My feet were wet. It was cold. And I thought, I love my life on the West Coast. Right? Whatever. One thought. Okay? Then you're going to comment on that with your hashtags. Hashtag West Coast. Hashtag Writer's Life. Yeah. Hashtag Instagram Writers. Hashtag, hashtag rainy day. Hashtag summer is good.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a whole other conversation. I'm not a social media whiz, but I know enough. So we're going to wrap this up now. We're at our 30 minutes. Maribeth and I are both going to do our takeaways, what we want you to take away out of today. So what I want you to take away out of today is that is the 3 steps. And is the 3 steps and multi-purposing your work.
Cool.
That's what I want you to take out of today. What do you want?
What do I want them to take out of today? I think the question bit, Don't be afraid of questions. Don't be afraid of not knowing, because out of what you don't know, this is your chance to explore, develop your own expertise, and offer that to others.
Beautiful.
Or maybe it's the questions people ask you.
Yeah. So you're basically saying be open to questions.
Yeah. Your questions are your gold.
Ooh, there's a blog post. You hear that? Your questions are your gold. I think in snippets.
Yeah.
All right. So that's it for us today. We're right on time. I'm so glad that you tuned in. Please send us any thoughts or questions. Take a look at the workbook. Let us know what you need here, and we'll be back again this summer. Have a great afternoon and keep writing online, because that's where your audience is going to grow, and that's where your own confidence comes from, and your credibility is all there too.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.